Hey everybody, welcome back to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast. We host Jake Saldati and Chad Rothford. We're here with the Fresno State Bulldog baseball head coach. Official, Ryan Overland. It was always official to us, we'll say that. I know.
I wonder if people probably didn't like us saying that.
Yeah, people, but I don't care what other people think. Everything worked out the way we planned it. You know, talking to Terry Toomey after the season. I'm glad he listened to us. But congratulations officially. We're very happy that they, you got the job and you're a Bulldog for life now.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate you guys and appreciate you guys coming here, spending some time together. It's just a huge honor. I'm just honored to be here in the position and carry Bulldog baseball going forward. I can't really say much else than how big of an honor it is, and appreciate you guys.
You guys have Bulldog camp going on. Today started today, right, or no? Yeah?
Yeah, 120 junior Bulldoggers.
Beautiful.
Out there ages 6 to 12. Great turnout, and we've had a lot of really good turnouts in our camps the last couple of years. So today was the first day of the first one of the summer, and we got a couple more coming throughout. But, yeah, great turnout and a really good group of kids out here today.
So I'm assuming go to gobulldogs.com. That's where all the camp info usually is for the upcoming camps. Head on over there to check that stuff out. We've been slacking on this, not to take away from you because we love you, Ovi, but we have to shout out head coach Tyler Latori at Westmont College in year one, which you've probably known Tyler for a while too at Sac State while he was there in San Jose before,
State,
right? Before
San
that,
Francisco State. Yep.
Year one as a head coach at Westmont, wins the NAIA National Championship. They finished the year 48-9. School's first championship, and I believe he was NAIA Coach of the Year.
Yep.
So congrats to him. He's been a guest of ours on here. Obviously, Obi knows him. Chad's known him for, how long?
Well, since I played with him with the Giants, so he was drafted in 06, I was drafted in 07, so I played with him. And then when he was in AAA with the Grizzlies, my parents were his host family. Oh. So we're pretty close. And I apologize, Tyler, if you're listening. It sucks because with the last two episodes we've done, at the end we're like, oh, crap, we forgot to say Tyler, so you weren't forgotten. You know that. Like I posted before, Tyler and I have been talking about this with him, wanting to get his own program, and he did a great thing, and it was fun to watch. I actually got to watch the championship game, so I'm happy for him.
And to beat Lewis and Clark, too. Isn't that where it's at?
Yep.
That their place every year?
Mm-hmm.
Ovi, how much College World Series baseball have you been watching, if any?
Here and there. Well, let's be honest, back to Tyler and Chad, he's been watching Oral Roberts every day. So that's where that hasn't made it into the podcast, I'm assuming. We've got a lot of Oral Roberts talk to be doing.
Well, you got Coach Batesel with Oral Roberts and your buddy Mr. Hefner with the New York Mets.
Mm-hmm.
He was a teammate also.
He was a teammate of mine, yeah.
ORU did fall today. Their World Series comes to an end, which leaves only 1 4 seed to win a national championship. This 4 seed right here on the wall. Still, Chad, awesome. How are you feeling watching that game today? We might as well just.
Today was hard because I felt like there was a lot of decisions made where I'm just like, what's going on? Like bringing out the starter with giving up 1 hit in the 4th, and all these challenges in the College World Series have been very difficult because they're taking a lot of time, and I feel like they need to figure something out to get the answers quicker, because the momentum shifts happen and then they get pretty much mute from the challenges and stuff. I feel like the umpiring has been a little off behind the dish. A lot of, I guess you can't say anything about the umpires. You could probably still get fined. I just feel like they've been pretty bad behind the dish. But ORU made a great run. I'm super happy. I hate when people try to say a Cinderella story and all that. I have nothing against Fresno State. I think what they did is amazing in 08, but it's totally different than what ORU was this year. Having the second most wins in the country.
They weren't a 4 seed.
They weren't a 4 seed. That's what
we're talking about them as if they were a true 4, maybe like you guys were. They won 52.
Well, they didn't even know if they were going to get in.
50. Well, they won the tournament. That was the only way you're getting in that year.
Yeah, I agree with that too on here in the Cinderella thing, and even to our team, there was a very good college baseball team with a lot of talent that was playing well at the right time. And what this Oral Roberts team, they have 50 wins in a season.
Yeah, 52.
If you took Division One, half the Division One teams played a junior college schedule, you don't get the 50 wins. I'm sorry, 50 wins in a season is incredible, and to do what they did is obviously a great accomplishment for them coming the league that they're in. But still, that is a very good team. They could obviously beat anybody in the country and did for a while, and then obviously gets to this point, and then now you're playing a baseball game where things can.
Right.
Well, obviously, one run loss the other day with the winning run. I believe they had bases loaded at the end and bases loaded in the eighth too. And then a tough loss today that really anything can happen once you get there. But that is a very good college baseball team that didn't come out of nowhere. Our 2008 team didn't come out of nowhere. We had been in regionals the 2 years before. 5 guys played in the big leagues on that team, and even Stony Brook's 4 seed.
Yeah.
That one guy's still in the big leagues today. They were top draft picks, and those are good teams. And to me, I think that just shows how hard it is to be one of the best 64 to get in the NCAA tournament when you got teams like that are 4 seeds that easily could be a 3 seed, 2 seed, and can go beat anybody. There's a lot of really good teams in college baseball.
Does it bug you when you hear them talk about them that way?
Yes. I mean, I think for me it does, because everybody's like, oh, they put them on the map. And to me, it's like,
they talk about it like they're not supposed to be there. And
Yeah.
ORU's been in the postseason the last 20 years. Every year they make it.
pretty much. I know in Coach Walton was there every year. I think they've missed it 5 times in the whole time that Fulmer's been there. They've had some down years, which happened with different recruiting, and they made it a lot harder to get into Oral Roberts. But still, yeah, they're a team that should be in it a lot. They've been in it a lot, and I hate that when they're like, oh, they act like they shouldn't be there. Because like you said, it's Division I baseball is Division I baseball. You know, you can beat anybody on any day, and I just feel like they didn't get enough credit for the season they had.
And with National Closer of the Year, and a guy had a 43-game hit streak.
Yeah.
47.
47 games.
And Coach of the Year. Fulman got Coach of the Year, too.
I was telling Chad, they were like one of the only teams that didn't look phased or rattled. Like, even in the 9th, down a handful, it didn't, whatever.
They know how to win. They got
Yeah,
winners, and
exactly.
They know how to win. They've
Like,
been
Florida looked nervous,
Yeah.
much more so than ORU, and yet they had a 2-run lead.
there. And there's probably, I mean, I watched a little bit of their games, but they probably had a little bit of the feeling our team had once we got there when we played North Carolina, who had lost the finals the 2 years before, played Rice, who had been there. For some of those other teams, there's the expectation we got to get there and win. And I think for our team in 08, it was kind of just so much, like they said on the broadcast, Detweiler said we were playing with house money. There was a little bit of that factor too, that you're there, now you're just enjoying being there. And I think Oral Roberts probably definitely had some of that too. Expecting to win, though, still. I mean, you don't win 50 games and get there, oh, we're just going to hang out. Same with our team. But I think that part, you're kind of more, you're able to relax a little quicker. Than I could feel from playing North Carolina, who had lost in the finals. That team was expecting to get there and win it all, and the pressure of that, you could feel was on them for sure.
You know, we probably asked you this before, but being in there in 08 and being the underdog, and I mean, let's face it, you guys were when you got there. That's not anything new. How fun is it though? Because it seems like the fans rally more around that team. So like even with ORU, you know, were they really an underdog? No, they're a good team. Like you said, 50 wins.
They're just not a Power 5 school.
Right. They're not there. They're not in it every year like you've seen with Stanford 3 in a row, and you know Florida's got a
Their
national.
backup their third string shortstop wasn't a high school All-American.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. So how was it with the fan base in 08 to just even rally behind you guys?
that's what a lot of people talked about even going into it, that the crowds kind of gravitate towards an underdog team or something like that, a team that's there. To be honest, once you're there and in that environment with that big of crowds, and it's just kind of noise and energy. Like when we played like the super regional at ASU that I've said a bunch, like that's 5,000 fans that hate you and don't like you and are loud every single thing that goes against you. In the World Series, like you have but they're not really like a whole stadium going one way. It's more during the game, the crowd is more just energy in the background than it really is like for one team or against a team. Was my experience to it.
Yeah, no, that's still a good run for those guys.
Really cool.
The one also is Carl Ravitch. Is that guy drinking in the booth?
I don't know.
He's had a rough. I don't know if you've listened to him.
I saw he messed up the home run.
That right. Was it
ORU's
game? And then he just had a couple blunders in the next game. I was like, dude, this guy is tripping.
That also bothers me too. And they talk about the other teams more like than Oral Roberts, which they probably did with Fresno State back in the day too. Because again, you're not expected to be there, so they're talking up, the North Carolina or Rice or Georgia, and that kind of bugs me too. It's like just. You got to give the teams respect for being there. Like, you're supposed to be neutral. And it just bothered me a little bit when they talk about it. Even happened in Supers against Oregon. And so I'm glad they did what they did. But, I'm a proud alumni.
Yeah, that's huge, and especially because the history of how many good teams, and you guys went to a Super Regional, how close some of those teams in the past were. But then to finally get that team to the next step is something that – obviously as alumni, and there's so many people that were so close to getting there and to feel part of it for that team, that those guys did what so many people got so close to do. And I know when me and Richie were at South Dakota State, that was 15 straight conference championships. At that point, we won the regular season in 2010. Not in the tournament, though. They got us in the tournament to get the bid. Still one of the ones I haven't gotten over yet, that team not getting to a regional in 2010 at South Dakota State. But, yeah, for that team to get there, really cool to watch. A lot of fun and a lot of respect for what those guys at Fulmer and Neal, those guys been there a long time.
Yeah, they were there with Walden, and then
there where you were there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Fulmer was our hitting coach, and Tuffy was the volunteer.
You mentioned the zone. I don't know if we were recording yet, but we were talking about the zones. Been pretty awful. I think most people have kind of been saying the same thing online, but haven't been a fan of some of the umpire zones. And then you saw stuff today in that game that was just you just don't see those. I think 4 different plays that you just don't see in games with the balk call. You had the guy called,
two balk calls.
Well, it was a pitch clock violation is what it was. But it's been entertaining. You want to know what I've noticed, and talking to kids in this area or wherever you're listening from. This first time I really paid attention to these guys' bodies. Like, these guys are physical dudes. And I don't. And where we're at, you don't see a lot of high school kids. And I'm just thinking, if you want to see maybe what it takes, or maybe start there. I don't know, Obi. What would be, when you see some of these guys, what would you tell maybe some of these high school kids here that are wanting or aspiring to be because I think at weightlifting it would be D2. They're all going to have their programs, but I mean, you just see these dudes from LSU, these guys from Wake Forest to TC, Florida. Yeah. I'm like, good God. Even the guy that's 5'7", 5'8", it's huge. His legs, everything about him is okay, these guys, this is work.
Yeah, it's college baseball is definitely, you got to be physical, you got to be athletic, you got to have quickness. Even some of the smaller guys have elite quickness that you're seeing out there. And I think that's just where science and training and a lot of that stuff has gotten. And to me, one of the biggest changes in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years is the nutrition part. The lifting, like you said, that's if you're not lifting it and working out at the highest level, you're definitely getting beat. But the nutrition part is now where 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was a couple guys that were going to eat really well and kind of nerdy in what they're putting in their body and how. And now if you're not on that level, that's just another way that people are getting by you. So, not only are they lifting and training to that part, but what they're putting in their body and how is at a really high level.
Right, and they're maximizing all of it now.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Well, I think that's what helped out Murph, to be honest. Just his physicality and he didn't look like a freshman. He could hang with the grind of a college season as a true freshman. And he looks like a guy that loves the weight room and the grind and eats healthy.
It was like Tommy. Tommy's not a tall guy, but he's built, Hopfy's not a small kid, you know what I mean? Like
get
he's
up close to.
Yeah.
He's about as strong as they come.
Yeah, it was. So I was like, these kids probably should be paying attention to.
Maybe less games in summer ball and just weight room and nutrition, or.
I'm with you, but I don't know. I don't know how many people agree with that.
There's not a do this and do that and do this. You got to play the game to get good at playing the game and understanding how to play and get at bats and get innings pitched. But you also got to take care of your body and be strong enough to do it and be fast enough to do it. There's got to be a balance somewhere, but not everybody is at the same spot. A guy like Murph, who is naturally pretty strong, doesn't need that as much. He needs a little more flexibility, making sure his body can handle what it's going through, versus some other guys, they need to put on 10 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle and get stronger. It just depends. There's really not a certain way, but definitely the physicality, the athleticism in college, especially what you're seeing with guys with the extra year. And I think another big piece of that is the shortened draft. There's more talented, especially some of these lineups, seniors, fifth-year seniors across the board, that a lot of times at bigger schools, not a lot of guys stay for their senior year because they're drafted or the next younger guy is playing. I think you're seeing a lot of more fourth, fifth year, 22, 23-year-olds in college baseball than you did before.
Yeah. And then seeing Skeens the other night pitch. I mean, did you get to watch that outing at all?
Yeah, I watched most of that. That's when we talk about not talking about ORU or the coverage and stuff, how it's not blasted on there every inning, what he's done at the Air Force Academy and his background. I mean, they talk about it, but I mean, they don't really.
Well, and you've seen it firsthand, like.
Oh yeah, I mean when he came out here his freshman year. I mean, he caught before he pitched against us, and I still swear to this: I've never seen a catcher throw a ball harder to second base. I've seen a quicker exchange. I've seen better hands. I've seen better feet. This ball shot out of his hand and got to the mound at 100 miles an hour. By the time it was at second base, was 120 miles an hour. Threw out E.J. Andrews when he was about 15 feet from the bag when the ball left his hand. And then came into pitch and was 93 to 95 easy. There was no doubt about it. That was a first-round pick. Watching him at the Air Force Academy. And, and I think there's a bad perception of this Air Force baseball program that, those guys, they're not good baseball players. They just go to the academy and that's all they do. But obviously Skeens is an extreme example, but some of those other guys there could have easily transferred and got played hit in the middle of the lineup in any team in the country. They're really good. But what that guy and what he still intends on doing with his military service and what he wants to do going forward with that, and with his the bond that is really strong with those guys. It's the other piece of playing against Air Force. You're playing against a group that's pretty tight-knit, that's tough. But he's going to keep fulfilling that part, and obviously has a huge upside. I'm probably going to be pitching on TV some more here. Probably
this year.
It's possible.
I mean, wouldn't put that happened recently, right? A couple of years ago, didn't that happen? Somebody got drafted.
Well, TCU Finnegan, the lefty, did it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then so did
out of the World Series.
I think another college guy did it.
Yeah, see, that's the play right there. Like, and I know that helped ORU. Sorry to interrupt, but
it was a great call. For it.
The double play you're talking about?
Yeah. That I don't know.
He didn't push him. He slid. I mean, he can't control his body. I don't know.
Well, they were saying, well, he didn't mean to. He didn't mean to push him off the bag.
It does say unintentionally as well in the rule.
Yeah, but guys unintentionally slide through second base on turf fields, and they don't want to, but they get tagged out because they slide past the bag unintentionally. Anyways, sorry. I totally fucked that up. Ovi. Now it is official. How have the last couple weeks been since the press conference?
Yeah, I mean it's been good. I mean, obviously getting some good additions there with the transfers and getting Saldivar home. Somebody who I've went and started watching when he was a freshman in high school and loved the way he plays, and wanted to be a Bulldog for a long time. And when that opportunity came, it was something we had to jump on. And then same with Noah Beal, he's thrown really well against us the last couple of years. So at worst, we're not going to have to get 2 hits off of him over 6 innings like we did a couple times. But 2 local guys, it meant a lot for them to come home and be Bulldogs, and they understand what that means. So adding that part, and then another piece in Pepe from Long Beach, are 3 guys that come in and make an impact.
And then I saw, is there a catcher from up north, or was that already a recruit?
Stransky we had signed a while back, and they put out.
I mean, also with those guys, and we've talked about it, they bring in a couple years of D1 experience, and they're kind of not new to the schedule, and the expectations maybe a little different here with you as the guy now. But I think you're right. I think good additions. I mean, at Saldivar, when we're lucky enough, I guess you could say, to have to face him for a few years, and he's just always a tough out, man. Kid could play. So it's nice to see him come back. But I kind of want to get into the season a little bit with not knowing about the job. Like, how challenging was it for you to? Like, was it easy for you to separate, or those moments where it's like, we got to start winning game? Was there certain pressure you felt?
Completely honest, no, not any more pressure than it is. It's just the job and the expectations and what you wanting for the program. I think it's no different than the job I've tried to do as an assistant. For the years I've been an assistant, is you do the job you have and do it the best that you can. And I've never been one to do my current job with hopes of a different one. So when this situation came about in January coming into the season, my whole intentions and focus was on making sure our 2023 team was the best that it could be and put itself in the best position to have the best year that we could, and just trusting that would take care of anything in the future. It would be unfair to them. It would be unfair to the program if my thoughts or my intentions or things I was doing were beyond that. Obviously, there's no secret or being shy about, I would want to be the head coach of Fresno State and have this be my job for a really long time. It means a lot to me. But it was about the 2023 team. So in all honesty, it was about focus on those guys and the team, and putting the team and the program in the best position to be successful, and letting that play out for itself. And that's the honest truth.
Yeah, it seems like there was a pretty easy buy-in. You talked to the players, and nothing seemed to kind of skip a beat at all, really. And even having a new staff, essentially, here. And like you said, like, if your standard and expectations, if they play to that, the game, the wins and all that will take care of itself. And fortunately it did.
And also to that, I mean, having the great people around me on the staff, and Troy Buckley, who joined us in the fall, and from the beginning just wanted to help get players better and make the program better. And that's where what he came into this program, jumped full into, and just wanted to help and wanted to get it better. Having a lot of respect from the outside for as long as he has, and what he brought, and then what Richie did coming in January, and moving across the country and moving out here, doing what he did. Having those 2 guys around with their experience, the trust, and knowing that what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they're here for the reasons that they are, that made my personal part, made that a lot easier to not have to worry about that piece, and having 2 guys close to you that you can trust and really have the program's best interest.
How gratifying is that too, to know that those guys, I mean, let's be real, this game's tough is in the coaching industry, like for them to commit like that. And I mean, how gratifying is it?
Not even knowing if you're going to be the guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, they're putting their lives on the line too.
To have those guys basically, ride or die type thing. How's that for you?
Yeah, no, that meant so much, and the trust of both of them. Again, Richie and my relationship goes back to us being teenagers in high school together, and being my first coaching opportunity with him at South Dakota State, and with Jake, who had just got done watching his press conference at New Mexico State,
right.
Hired as a head coach. That was the 3 of us together. Richie was 24, Jake and I were 23. 3 Division I coaches. So
yeah, that's crazy. And even Jack, for a young guy getting his start in, like, it's not easy to even get in to D1 baseball. So it's pretty cool how everything kind of transpired. You know, what was so when the season's ending and you know you handle the interview process, how long did it take for you to get the phone call that you were the guy?
Oh man, you're gonna make me go back on days here. They go by so quick. I think that was Saturday morning we lost.
Yes.
So it must have been Tuesday.
Really? Not long. How was that? Well, so
the press conference was Wednesday.
Yeah, I think
so,
I think it was.
So Tuesday, I think.
So when was your interview? Monday? Tuesday? Never mind.
Friday and Saturday.
During the tournament?
Yep.
No stress at all?
Nope.
That's why he's the right guy. What was that phone call? After that phone call was done, what were you feeling?
Just thankful, you know, and just everything. When you put in that much time and years and dedication, and then the uncertainty again, like it wasn't like I was sitting around and what's going to happen, but it's obviously it's there, you know, and just in coaching, you don't really know where the next move's going to be, or things that are out of your control, or where things might move, or sometimes guys take job and then the guy they go work for leaves, or that coach retired or gets fired or moved. Like there's a lot of uncertainty, you know, in this profession. So having that be kind of, okay, that part's done and kind of can settle in, and not have that be in the back of the mind, was just thankful for the opportunity, and thankful for this program, and excited for the future of this program. And where it can go and what it can keep doing. And like I said, understanding where it's been is one part, but understanding how to get where we want it to go is a whole nother thing. And that's what I'm excited about every morning when I wake up and get to come here every day to keep building that. Truly thankful for and excited for.
I think you've made a splash too since you've been, you know, the head coach of obviously bringing back those two guys, but those are big pickups, you know, and I don't think people realize how big that was for this program and for you as a head coach, because I know people have always said, oh, well, these have all been, you know, he's the recruiting coordinator. He's always been the recruiting coordinator. And you know, so people have always said things about your recruiting, but they don't see the ins and outs of all the recruiting and why you recruit certain players and how you can go get guys. And I think that's why the portal is helping schools like Oral Roberts. 8 of those guys are all portal players. Like smaller schools have to go do that to be able to compete right away, and you have to win.
But even look at Oral Roberts to LSU. How many LSU guys in that starting lineup are transfers?
Yeah.
So it's not you know, yeah. And so
I think that's the thing, and I think that's what you have to do that, and you've done a great job of that already. Is getting really good players to come here and continue what you've built in this last, you know, 4 months.
And it's got to be the right people.
Yeah.
First, right? I mean, you can't put together a team just purely on. It's different than if you're a general manager of professional baseball, because even that there's clubhouse dynamics, but still. You're pros and you're showing up to be a pro. We're dealing with college athletes still here that you can't just go pick and just throw a bunch of people together and think it's going to work. They got to be the right people and coming for the right reasons and to fit your program, especially if they're leaving another one. There's a reason why, and figuring out what that is. And there's a lot of people or things, when I say it quick, to have opinions on the portal, which there's a lot of them to have. But the truth is there's a lot of players in there, and there's a lot of reasons why they're in there. And they're not all sometimes it's just looked at somebody's just looking for the shinier, brighter next opportunity. Sometimes it's because guy wasn't playing where he was at. Sometimes then we got the factor of a lot of kids committed to schools during COVID when they couldn't go see it, couldn't be seen, and reevaluating their decision. There's a lot of reasons to it, but I think it's definitely a way to help you can improve your team quickly, but you still got to have the right people in your program and make sure they're there for the right reasons and building your team the right way.
What is I know you don't have to speak to it. I don't know if you want to speak to it personally or with what you're doing already, but like there's got to be a little fine line between guys coming in from the portal and also trying not to lose guys to the portal, knowing that some guys are coming in. Like, how do you have are those conversations that you got to have sometimes? I mean, I don't know if you've had them. I haven't seen anybody leave, but it's got to be a fine line to walk with guys that have been here or coming here, also knowing guys are coming in from other schools.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of just goes to communication and honesty with the players and the people you're around. And sometimes that conversation, because let's be honest, I mean, you got a roster of 35 players, all 35 of them want to be in the lineup every day, hitting third, playing wherever they think they should be playing. But the reality is you only get to write one guy hitting third. You only get to play one shortstop. You can only put 9 guys on the field, which leaves 26 guys not in the lineup every day. So try to do the best you can with communication and making sure guys understand, especially because they want to play and they want to be out there. And sometimes you got to have a conversation of, hey, here's where this, because you got to make sure if the guys that aren't playing, you can't have guys at the end of the bench that are why is that guy playing? I should be there, and then go home and
gets toxic.
And then all of a sudden you know, so they got to understand. But if you have the right people and who want to be great teammates, want to just make sure help the team win, be ready for when their time's called. That happens plenty of times throughout the year of injuries, or some guy maybe gets an opportunity and then runs with it. So you got to have depth, and you got to have guys there, but they got to be there for the right reasons and understanding it sometimes. And guys leaving or not, I mean, nobody's perfect, but the intention is to try to do the best we can to take care of the person first and be honest with them about where their opportunities may be or not going to be, and making sure. But the beautiful thing is, especially in the last couple of years, we got a lot of guys that are really prideful of being Bulldogs, and it really means a lot to them. You know, and that means a lot to me that they understand that.
Yeah, that is not. It makes it easy to do your job when you've got a bunch of guys that want to wear these colors, this red. The other thing too was, like, I heard the new NCAA commissioner. I don't know if you got to hear. I think it was yesterday. Did you hear him? It was during the day game, talking about NIL stuff, the collective stuff, and transfer portal. And I mean, he's only been the new commissioner, I think, for a few months. It was pretty interesting to hear him talk and trying to maybe regulate certain things. I've heard Deion Sanders make some comments that, you know, recently NIL is not the problem, more so than it is these collectives that are just throwing money out versus, you know, the NIL, you know, where a kid's providing a service to get that money, whether it be signing autographs or jerseys or whatever. You know, collectives are just saying, here's $100,000. We don't know if you're really even that good. Do you feel like some of this stuff needs to get regulated? How these are, I mean, because you're seeing, you know, somebody said it, you don't have to go pro anymore. I think it was I forget where I saw that, but they were talking about you don't have to even go pro anymore. You can make your money in college and be comfortable.
Yeah, I don't know if regulating it is the thing, but I think transparency is probably more the thing. Says it's not. I mean, what do we really know of what kids are getting? Because it's, I heard this kid that heard. There's nowhere to actually go. If you want to know what Mike Trout's making, his contract, you know what he's making.
Right.
If you want to know what the quarterback at Alabama's making, go start asking people in Tuscaloosa. Nobody really knows. So I think transparency of what's real is probably the piece that's going to come. You know, but I think it's good for the athlete. They have the opportunities to do that and have their families taken care of. You know, and what is it worth? You're worth what somebody's willing to pay you, and if somebody's willing to pay you whatever that is for your autograph, I guess that's the going rate. But I definitely think needs to be some kind of transparency to what's real, what our schools really, what kind of budget are you really dealing with of what players are getting. And I think that'll help the players too make decisions, because I think they get this idea of, because especially that's skewed of whatever these football players get $1 million, that's maybe 10 athletes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right. Well, that's what Deion was saying in this clip. He was like, listen, in the NIL, realistically, you see maybe a handful of college athletes in a commercial. You don't see that many. The NIL to him wasn't the problem. Which, if you look at it that way, I guess, because NIL and collectives aren't necessarily the same thing. And I was just like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe you I guess you're saying not regulate. Maybe that's not a good idea. But to say, like, you can't get any collective money until you're draft eligible. You're going into your junior season, that's when they can start saying, okay, 2 years, and then you can start making money outside of your NIL stuff. I don't know. Because guys are just taking money, and then in a year, like the quarterback for Texas, is it Ewers, who went to Ohio State, took him for $2 million, and then bounced to Texas.
Yeah, and that's where none of us really know what that kid, he may have well signed.
And that's what they said
with that. But then as soon as part of that I doubt it was, here's a $2 million check. It was probably over the course of whatever
his time there.
There's probably things in there. They probably can't say if you transfer, but if you don't live in Texas anymore, this is void.
I mean, they're not stupid.
There's probably something that it's not like he just took the money and then see you. Go to the next place and get it. But again, that's where transparency of what is the actual deal, what is in place. There's a little Wild West feel to it of what.
What do you think, Roth? I know you hate the NIL stuff, but now that these collectives, almost like a booster style thing, where it's where everything was like SMU back in the day, they got killed for this, and now it's fair game.
I think boosters are coming to coaches and saying, "What do you need? How much is it going to cost?" And I think that's how things are going. And I'm saying this because I don't like LSU, and I don't know if they do this, but that's how I feel they're doing it. Is how much money is it going to cost me? What do the players want? And we'll do it. I feel like that's what's going on right now, and is that the collective part of it? Like
yes.
People just come in and saying,
yes,
you want
here's
this guy?
Bag.
I'll give him.
Here's a bag.
I'll give him $100,000.
It's like blue chips. Here's a tractor, and yes.
And I think that's where
NIL is literally like, okay,
NIL is like you're gonna do commercials at Chevy.
I'm at JR signing pictures and jerseys, and it's $20 a shot. Like that's NIL.
Or like we'll give you a truck to drive this semester if you come do a commercial or signings at Chevy or something.
And I know Fresno's starting and listen. I want Fresno State to win, so I don't care that we have let's get our collective and let's get the money going and get guys here. I'm all for it. I don't know. Like you said, like how hard is it when, LSU, for example's got, a few of the best players in the country that were on different teams last year. You've reaped the benefit of work somebody else did. Like you missed out. You, for whatever reason, weren't recruiting this guy or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's again, how hard is it when you're winning with somebody else's recruit technically?
Yeah, and I think a little bit of that is because we already have what the model that's always been college athletics is you recruit your own players and develop them. Let's be honest, it's changed where nobody says that. Probably when free agency started in professional baseball, it was like, well, that guy didn't come up with whatever team. The Yankees signed him in free agency, but now nobody really care. Oh, well, Garrett Cole wasn't drafted by the Yankees. I don't think anybody. It's different, but I think eventually it'll kind of shift to where that's a little more normal. I think. Well, it obviously is, but the perception of it is definitely changed. Where college athletics is going.
That's where I kind of get mad because I feel like you go to a place you should be, you say prideful in Fresno State, like, Oral Roberts wasn't like the place I wanted to go. It was the place where it was the best fit for me, and it was my opportunity to play Division I baseball, which is what I wanted to do. And I don't feel like I could have left after having my junior year that I had, because if I was in this day and age and I had my junior year, I could have gone anywhere I wanted if the portal was the way it was. But I just feel like I owed it to Coach Walton and my teammates to go through the ride. I mean, we went to the Supers. Like, let's go back and go to the College World Series. I just feel
would you have looked at it the same way? Like, you didn't notice me before. Like, this guy gave me my opportunity, and because now I've proved my worth, you want to reap the benefit from that, and so you stay and give that to Coach Walton. I don't know, because he gave you that shot.
Yeah, like I just feel like
had LSU come to you after your junior year and said, "Hey, Chad,
I think football really messed this up because they've made it about money, and it was never about money for college baseball players. I mean, we have the worst scholarship ever in all of sports, and you never hear baseball players bitch and complain about it. You know what I mean? Like, I've never heard them. I mean, you had football players complain about not getting paid to be on a video game. It's like, I would have gave anything to be on the video game. Like, we were the only conference not in the video game for NC2A. We were not in the video game. And it's like, I would have gave anything for Oral Roberts to be in the video game and not get a dime. Yeah. Like, how cool is that?
We were so excited when that game came out.
Yeah.
Right?
They did a really good job with the first one, too.
They did.
Like,
the first one was better.
Except for my arm was a 99 rating.
I'm gonna have to bring it. I'll bring it. I brought an old Xbox and I bought.
But that's what I'm saying. Should Ovi complain that he didn't get paid for that game?
No,
that's what I'm like. Why can't people just be? I mean,
well,
especially football.
I think it started with
everything
basketball.
Anyways.
I think college basketball is where it actually started.
With the one and done.
Well, with the game. That's where it was first noticed. Is the college basketball had a game, and I want to say it was like UCLA or USC. These guys were like, "Hey, you're using our numbers and this and that, and we're not getting paid for it." I think that's how I could be wrong.
I don't know. It's just like, why can't you? I mean, you're basketball and football. You get everything for free, like everything. You get everything paid for. You have money, extra money per month. Like, go live as a baseball player for a semester and have school loans for some guys, and you know what I mean. Like, it was just rough.
Well, they're full scholarships.
Yes. Football and basketball. I mean, you have 75 football scholarships. You have 13. You have 13 basketball scholarships.
4 guys sharing.
You have more basketball scholarships for basketball than you do for baseball. And there's only 15 players on a roster. They have 13 full scholarships.
And
like it makes no sense to me, and it's just that's what I hate is it's becoming a business now, and that's what I loved about college baseball. It was everybody loved their school they went to and had pride in it, win or lose. Like, if they lost and didn't make the playoffs, okay, we're going to come back next year and make the playoffs. It wasn't like, where can I go to get there now? Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel, and I'm old school, and I know things are changing, and you got to adapt with it, and that's why it's hard for me to do that, because I just felt like, you know, even if Fresno State came calling after my junior year, I don't know. What do I do? Like, and that's the school I wanted to go to my whole life. Like, I wanted to come here, you know, but Coach Walton gave me my opportunity. Like, who do I stay loyal to? And that's the other thing. Maybe some of these coaches aren't loyal to the player. I don't know. And like you said, everybody's got a reason, and we don't know what the reasons are. And there's so many different things. It's just hard to, you know, fathom leaving Oral Roberts.
Yeah. Which is that's how it should be. It should be the relationship as a coach to the players you recruit that you gave the opportunity to. That, let's be honest, a lot of guys I've recruited, I've taken pride in being the only one to have given them that opportunity. But everybody, because especially you never know who's influencing people. Everybody wants a part of it. And sometimes it maybe feel like, oh, well, they're not, you didn't get something that you should have, so it's go find it somewhere else. But hopefully that's not the program we're running. The guys, we bring them here for the right reasons. They want to be here. They want to stay. And we treat them the way that they should and have that loyalty both ways, and respect for them.
Yeah. And you got to want to compete. Like, you know, even though I was a starter, you know, I wasn't a starter at City my freshman year, but I had to earn that, you know, and I feel like that's tough for kids now, is having to earn something because they were so good in high school and started every game, or, you know, the JUCO guys or whatever. But it's like, just because you're not earning it now doesn't mean you can't earn it in the fall. Like some of these guys that are in the portal, it's like, dude, why don't you go fight for a job in the fall first? Or, you know, because you're going in the portal batting 170. Who's gonna look you up and be like, yeah, I want a 170 guy? You know, it's just that kind of portal guy. It's like, dude, go earn a job or try to fight for it at least. And I think that's what's frustrating too, you know, for me, is that part of it.
And that may be some of the cases too.
Yeah, I mean, every case is different. That's just an outsider, you know, looking in, and that's how I feel.
Back to with the dog stuff though. Just what are some wish list stuff? What are some things you want to do here? I know. I bet it's long.
Let's elevate this.
I mean, how do you feel about all that? I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think that the first part, having a president of the university and an athletic director that have that vision for the university and for the department. As a Bulldog and somebody that's played here and been here as long as I have a lot of appreciation and just respect for we have leadership that has that vision. Now going and doing it is the challenge. And what really stood out to me that meant a lot to me, and I told Terry that when they presented that stuff to the coaches, Terry said, "This is for Coach Bennett. This is for Coach Sweeney. This is for Coach Wright. The people that built what it is today 20, 30 years ago, that we need to keep it moving what they started. That, let's be honest, we haven't really done to the pace that it was at that time. I mean, this place was the premier college stadium 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. Same thing with softball, that still is one of the top softball facilities, but people are catching up. And so that's what meant a lot to me when Terry said that, as far as what it's for and what we need to keep doing. And, yeah, there's a lot of things to keep moving forward with the department and our program and a lot of them.
Yeah, it was nice to hear him say that, too, in the press conference of, like, your job and what is expected of you. And then, he put himself out there of, I've got to do my job, whether it's certain resources or things like that. So, we talked about it on here, like, we want to see it, like, again, we've thought you were the guy and believe that. And, we need to exhaust all the resources we can to help the baseball program or whatever programs we can help to succeed.
Baseball program for us. That's it. That's all we care about.
One thing I always wondered was why we don't have the rails on the front of the dugout yet. This might be the last program that has open dugouts.
That's coming next year. It's NCAA rule next year.
So love it.
So that's automatic then.
So it's coming, yeah. Padded outfield fence, padded, that we've tried to do for a long time, and then railings in front of the dugout. NCAA rule.
Ooh. So there you. Hey,
so
love
coming.
it. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Interesting. It's got to be a safety thing though too.
It's about time. They had those metal for COVID. You guys had that metal fence thing. That was more dangerous almost.
Yeah, I think we'll have something a little better than that.
And what else can we do? What can some of the fans do? Is joining the dugout club one thing? What are some things?
How do we get the money to the baseball program?
I've talked to people about this.
I want to know that
have been like, I don't know if I donate, is it going to go to the baseball program?
So that's the first piece, I guess, to answer that question, which was a department policy. It's been at least 12, 13 years ago. It has not been a policy. If you want to donate directly to baseball, every sport has a fund for excellence. So it's baseball, FF&E fund. So if you want to donate directly to baseball, you put it on baseball, FF&E. That goes directly to what the head coach and the sports supervisor sign off on what it could be used for. Obviously, I can't just – if you had a check for $1 million and, okay, we're going to build new batting cages down there, obviously there's building codes and all this stuff. You can't just go do it. But as far as what the money to be used for, yes, you can give directly to any sport.
Okay.
We're going to have to put that on there.
Which is based with the dugout club. Anything that they raise at the end of the year over their operating costs goes into that fund to use for pitching machines and stuff that we'd get around the program is used from there. So what can people do? Yeah, the dugout club is one. If you want to give directly to the program, and second, be in the seats, be here at games. And the crowds we've had this last year were phenomenal. Those tournament games, I know we fell short on the scoreboard of them, but the excitement and the crowds that were here and the energy, again, that's as loud as I've felt again.
Thursday night was
loud.
Was electric. It was fun. And again, I know you guys didn't get the results you wanted, but it was a really nice crowd. And I also think it exposed some people to
how good the Mountain West really is.
Mountain West is not as bad as people thought it was. And I know San Jose didn't have the success they wanted in the regional, but it was one of the toughest regionals to get through, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's not an easy one.
No, that's true. It's true.
Easy region.
Well, I asked Chad. I think, did you say one of them? Maybe not.
Huh?
Nah, never mind.
I said ORU's was the hardest because your 4 seed was a 2 seed.
Yeah, which is you could honestly make that argument that a lot of 3 seeds there's unless every once in a while somebody, but even let's say if you have a team with a bad record that won their conference tournament, they just won their conference tournament, so they're playing well.
Yeah.
Right.
So once you get into a regional, now everybody's talented and everybody's playing well. It's very
Yeah, I mean Oregon. That was Oregon.
Yeah.
Playing hot at the right time. I mean they win the Pac-12 and they still can't get a host site. I think the difference, and we've talked about it on here, that I've definitely noticed in the World Series has been arms, pitching.
I mean, I've said that before on here about, mid-majors. I know some people don't like calling them mid-majors. Okay, non-Power 5 schools, it's the arms. You look up at a lineup and you could put Fresno State's lineup in the SEC. You could put it just come, and I'm not trying to bash anybody's pitching staff, but it's reality. And the only reason I say is I played it. I've seen it. You see it with Oral Roberts this year. The reality of it is power arms and
the depth of
the arms in a non-Power 5 school to a Power 5 school. I mean, ORU had one guy throwing 95 above. Every guy on TCU threw 95 or above. Every guy in the SEC throws 95 or, you know what I mean? So, and they have their whole bullpen's that way. ORU had to hit to win. Their pitching was good enough to make it as far as they did, but then you saw how tired they are when they're bringing out the same arms over again, and I think that's the difference in Division I baseball, because a lot of these hitters can play the position, can hit Division I level, no matter what team they play for. And I think that's the biggest thing in Division I is just arms and teams with depth.
Yeah, it's definitely showed here. I mean, Wake Forest is so deep. It's pretty crazy how many arms they have. I mean, even just the front 4 starters and then to have another 4 or 5 guys in the bullpen, it's pretty nuts.
Well, and even like Oregon, we talked about what hurt them is we don't. I mean, we talked about it. I don't feel they used their bullpen enough on Tuesdays because a lot of guys didn't have a lot of innings. And then they're getting, one guy had 6 innings pitched all year, and here he comes against ORU in the Super Regional
with the season on the
line, and here's a guy that hasn't been in that situation enough.
And even I know they had quite a few injuries on the mound. But
yeah,
for
they did.
them eventually depth. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Jake's one of my close friends, but I don't pay that close attention to how they were using guys. But I knew they were young. I mean, he had 9-10 freshmen pitching, and go look at stat sheets across the country that have
that many
4 freshmen throw 10 innings is very rare. And to have as many as they did and get as far as they did was pretty special.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to knock them.
No, that's what came down. What it came down to, the pitching at the end there, and then again, doing it, trying to beat a team that has 50 wins and knows how to win. That's got to hit last in that game. That wasn't going to quit. And then sure enough, there you go, a hit, a walk, and a double. Mm-hmm. You're playing again the next day.
You know what I wanted to ask? I was thinking about this the other day. They what in Omaha? What was it? And obviously with Bates, I'm sure it was different for, I don't know how other teams did it while you guys were there in 08.
Did other teams run Wallenbachs while they were there?
Mendoza said that.
What was in between in between games? Like, what were the off day?
There was no off day. They practiced every.
So, I mean, I'm saying you guys practice and then what? Though, like, did you go watch other games? Did you stay away from it? Like, not try to watch what was going on, or like how much were you? Because everybody sees obviously the games and the crowds and all that, but I was like, what? I wonder if people like are interested. What did you guys do on in between games?
I mean, we'd definitely go work. They'd set up. You'd go practice at a high school field in the area. We went and practiced at Creighton one day, and they'd bring like Little League. There'd be like kids out at practice. Because the one day we showed up and just ran, and there was like 100 kids there to watch us practice, and we ran and got back on the bus.
Any reason why you were running Wallenbachs?
We had started that towards the end of the year in conference. We started doing it on Thursdays. Before weekend, we'd run.
You guys, like who?
Yeah, like the players. We were.
You guys initiated running Wallenbachs?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it was, and then we did it. We did it in Tempe at the Super Regional.
So just a superstition type of
and
thing.
then we did it in Omaha.
You just kind of had to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Several times. God.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we'd practice. I'm sure guys probably went over to the other games. I don't remember going in the other games. There was rainstorms that came through all the time, so I'm sure. I don't.
Were you a video game guy in the hotel?
I was not. No, I'm sure there were. I'm sure somebody had to have.
I do know this because I was getting texts from ORU for the alumni thing, so they were letting us know everything going on this whole week, and they did practice the day off or the day after a game, and ORU is kind of cool. I don't know, they had alumni like the first practice on the day after they beat TCU. All alumni can go out on the field, and they had about like 40 alumni go out there, and then they had alumni dinner at the hotel.
That's cool because I mean Tulsa's how far from
It was
Omaha?
6 hours, which is nice.
Yeah, Midwest. That's like an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drive from state to state.
Right. But I mean, we did like I don't remember what it was called. Every team gets like a host. I don't want to say family, but somebody like hosts each team. So they brought it like the whole team out to it was like a lake house like thing for like a barbecue.
Oh, that's
something
cool.
else like that. Like it was maybe like the Omaha Kiwanis or something like that. Like kind of sponsors each team while you're there. So they kind of set up things like that, but probably just relax and wait it out for the next game. Really.
Yeah. I was just curious because I was thinking like, do you guys just go back out to the ballpark and? Because I would want to go see as much shit as I could.
Yeah, or walk around town.
Yeah, I mean, we were staying downtown, so you kind of walk around downtown a little bit. I'm sure guys.
Because, Rosenblatt was kind of outskirts a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. You couldn't walk to the field by any means. Yeah, I'm sure guys probably went to the zoo or I don't know. I don't really remember. Just remember the games, I guess.
Also, I wanted to ask, what was how did anybody talk about like Mountain West officials on how the tournament played out and attendance and just how everything worked? Were we good hosts? I guess is what I'm asking. Did anybody ever?
Yeah,
Mr. Toomey ever say anything or?
I think the feedback from the league people that were here, they're obviously excited about the crowds and the turnouts for our games, and I think that all went well. I know they do send out a post-tournament kind of questionnaire to get some feedback and stuff, but I think especially the crowds and the turnout, that was definitely exciting because the year before San Diego State had hosted and they weren't in it, so hadn't really had that.
It's embarrassing.
Had that atmosphere.
How was it using the replay? Because that was the first time you guys used replay, and now it's going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
This coming season.
Well, it went against. I think we were.
I know.
0 for 3.
But just having the option.
Calls, but especially the peace of mind that the call's made right, I think is the key. And like the one we had, Hotfee slide in the third, I knew he came off the bag. He got on with his left hand, and they could tell he came off, but couldn't know exactly when the tag was on. And just the time we had got a couple hits in a row, so it was worth, hey, let's look at it to make sure. But then kind of some of the ins and outs of it were, so on that play, Murph scored from second, the out at third. Well, then when we challenged that play at third, the home plate umpire comes over and says, hey, just so you know, we're going to look at to see if the run scored or not. And I said, based off of our challenge? And he said, yeah, that's once they go to it, they can look at anything else. So had he not scored before that, could have cost us a run.
Now, do you have 30 seconds to make the decision on the challenge? Or is there anybody you talk to, or it's just based on
can't have communication?
I feel like we need to do this, or
yeah, no, you can't.
Richie, what'd you see? Or
and we talked to the players before going into it of you need to let us know if something like in that play today, or Roberts, third baseman, was like, hey, he's off the bag. Because sometimes they got a better angle, or hey, I know I tagged that guy, or I know I was safe. But at the same time, hey, you can't just get called out and then say, hey, no, I was safe. Like you gotta have, because you only get 2, right? Which more than likely you're probably not going to use 2, but you don't want to waste them just because your guy was a little overconfident in the call was supposed to go their way. So we talked about the players of that before, but yeah, I think just having the peace of mind that the call's getting made right, and the umpires, they want that too. They think they understand and want to make sure to get the call right. So hopefully that's a good, because there's a lot of plays throughout the year that you don't want to leave going, oh, I don't know that was called right. So just having the peace of mind that you know that game was settled on the field correctly. I think if you have the technology to do it and it's there, yeah, it's the one thing they do need, like you mentioned, the time of it. Part of it is too, they got to get together and make sure they have the call right on the field, because let's say if it's a play, the first baseman came off the bag, but they call him out, and then they go to replay, but the angle, like somebody's in the way or they don't have the shot right, and then you can't go back to another umpire after, right? So then look at, hey, we can't see it. Well, what did you see? And the plate umpire says, no, I had him off. So they do have to get together and make sure they have the call on the field right, just in case they go there and can't see it, because then they can't change it after. So finding a way to probably speed up the process a little bit would probably be good. But other than that, I think it's great.
Also, did you get to talk to Coach Batesel at all after I mean, that's a dumb question. I know you talked to Coach Batesel. What was that conversation? Was he pretty pumped for you?
Yeah, no, he's super excited, and again, super thankful for everything he's done for me personally, professionally, and back to as a player, giving me an opportunity to come here, and having my career, having played for him, and then having coached with him and for him, and just the things that I've been able to be close to him and learn, and the amount of things he shared over the years of, if you know how many times he said, when you're a head coach one day, remember this, when you're a head coach, and sometimes things not to do, don't do things that he did. But yeah, no, that's super special. And again, extremely thankful for everything he's ever done for me.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. We are very excited. Definitely pumped for this opportunity. Like I said, and everybody knows Chad and I have been behind it all the way from day one. If you want to get involved, get out here. Number one is just, get out here. Get in the seats. But there are ways, direct avenues to donate or get involved directly with the program. Reach out, DM us if you need to. We'll help lead the way. But
the HIT.OR.DIE fund. I'm just kidding.
Chad said something about the HIT.OR.DIE NIL.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. Hey, send us money and we'll give it out to the baseball players.
You have a HIT.OR.DIE night this year. No, I'm just kidding. But I also got to say thank you for letting us be involved. Like you've been very good to us, and you've given us a lot of access, not just to yourself and your coaches, the ballpark and players. I really appreciate that, because it's, I know during season it's work time. Like you guys are on a mission. So I really do appreciate you allowing us time to be around everybody. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate it. And again, from what you guys started, how many years have it been now?
Almost
four. July 2nd.
Yeah.
Oof. Just what you guys are doing, and the people that you've talked to and interviewed, and getting real information to people and different stories, I think is awesome. And I listen as often as I can. I even go back to some of the old ones with, Coach Bennett, Coach Savage, Vanderhill, those early ones you guys did with different coaches. I mean, that's priceless interview.
It is. How was Tommy's? Your boy.
Well, I mean,
you got to critique him. You're a regular here, so he was a first timer that time.
Yeah, well, it's tough for me because I know if I was an outsider listening to him for the first time, I'd be like, "What the heck? Who is this guy?"
I think he wants to do it again, but he wants to do it with you on too.
Yeah.
So we'll have to we'll have to run that.
I said, I don't know if there's some stuff Ovi can talk about now, being the guy. We're gonna have to.
We wouldn't ask those questions.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
But
Tommy might.
He might just say it anyways. Yeah. But no, seriously, thank you for being great to us, and we're excited for the seasons to come. We will be here. We hope everybody gets involved and shows up to the ballpark. I do want to shout out a couple guys. Temo Becerra at Stanford, a Buchanan kid, showed well at the College World Series, and Riley Cooper pitched well the other night. Clovis North player for LSU. And they're playing actually right now. So awesome to see those guys in Omaha. And we just thanks everybody for supporting what we do. And that is another episode of the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.